I will start. I will introduce myself. I'm an artist and a designer and a philosopher of art. And I studied graphic design in Germany and fine arts. I'm a sculptor and photographer. And I did my PhD in 2015 in Vienna, where I live right now. I'm from Germany originally, but now I'm living in Vienna. And I did it on thinking hands, which is a method that I invented together with artists colleagues. And yeah, this is what I did my dissertation on. And this method was nominated for the Falling Walls Lab, which I really liked a lot. But unfortunately, I didn't win the competition. But it was just nice to take part, being together with other scientists. I was the only artist in this competition. And so I really liked to mix up with other disciplines. And and in 2021, I became the co-initiator of an arts and science project called Symbiosis. And this took place in Spain as well, at the Mediterranean, in a small community. And we teamed up with 50 scientists and artists from all over the world. We met there for 3 weeks and did research and art projects together. And I will tell a little bit more about it during the presentation right now. And since 2024, I'm part of the Climate Art Collection and support them as an advisory board member. This collection collects international art that refers to any kind of ecological ecological purpose and covers every kind of art, from performance to paintings and whatever. So the wide range. And in 2025, I joined the One Ocean Science Congress in Nizza, which I liked a lot because it was another possibility to team up with biologists, scientists of all kinds. And I was happy to do a poster presentation on what the arts can do, especially for marine science. And since last year, I'm the project leader for the Austrian art universities, which it's a project about what the potential of the arts is regarding transformation towards an eco-social, sustainable society. And I really like that because it also covers all kinds of art disciplines. And of course, we team up with scientists of other disciplines as well from the other universities. And to give you a first impression on what we do, I'll show a little film about the performance that is called The Rhythm of the Sea. It's from 2022, and it's a very short film, and the choreographer, Daniela Mühlbauer, who's also from Vienna, will say a few words to this work.
My name is Daniela Mühlbauer. I'm from Austria. I'm a dancer and choreographer. For this case, I tried to create performance dance that inspired by the sea. We are a common group, some active students, and we also have science students, and we have a local participant. The work with the scientists is very nice. It goes both ways. So they are joining our dance project. On the other hand, they let us take part in their studying.
So yeah, this is as a first impression. I like it a lot, and I joined myself when we did that. And yes, and I would like to ask you. So we are just a small group. Raya, have you already experiences with arts in your science? Yes. Oh yeah. Please let us know. It's interesting.
Yes, I'd say yes, because I don't come from a hard science background. I come from an architecture and design background. So visual arts and design is fundamental to our field. Although my program likes to say that the reason why we're only called a bachelor and not a bachelor of arts nor a bachelor of science is because we like to dip our toes into either. So I'd say yeah, kind of have some sort of experience, but there's also some identity crisis to like being in between, I'd say.
Yeah. I can understand that it's not so easy to mix it up, and sometimes you have to decide what are you right now in that moment. So, okay, but do you plan to benefit more from the arts for your science?
I think yes, actually, I've been finding like an urge to get back to my visual arts basics.
Mhm.
So I mean, that was really my background in the first place, and then I just kind of got into ecology and all that because it made sense with climate change and all. But then now I have like a very strong like feeling to get back into to producing art or supporting art or just immersing myself in art more now. But I don't know how to start, or I guess this is
Mhm.
one of the ways I wanted to start.
Mhm. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's interesting. I hope I can give you some inspiration for that, where to start. And yeah, in this slide, I try to give an overview what the arts can do for marine science. And I I listed 5 points that I think that are important. It's uplift local voices, which is very important to empower communities who are really at the basis and are dealing with the ocean. And another point would be to create awareness, which is important to make people to care more about what they know and what they love, and to inspire them more to take part in saving the ocean and exploring the ocean, of course. A third point would be increase ocean literacy. And I think there are many dimensions in which you can do it. For example, uh, just go to schools. There are so many great blue school initiatives right now. And what I think is important that the arts can help to transform learning, not just in an intellectual way, but to gain a completely new perception of the world. So by the arts, you see it from a different perspective. And of course, we can create student modules for university. I think the arts can be very helpful with that. And to create citizen science projects. So it's not always just the science. It's important to show the whole picture. Like for example, in this illustration here in the background, which is a collaborative artwork by friends of mine. And right these days, when we all watch these exciting adventure, these guys going to the moon right now and sending us messages. And we all know this saying that the sea is as interesting and as adventurous as the universe. And this would be accessible for all of us. So we won't possibly not go to the moon, but we could really have great adventures in the sea. And this would lead to, yeah, organize our life differently, behave differently, be very inspired, and and give us new structures for our lives. And yeah, the fourth point would be to raise participation, which is very important because people, the communities, they have to be included in research. And this works very good by co-creating because you can build a community, you can raise empathy, and what is very important, you can combine different disciplines in your research. And yeah, the last point is very important. I think it's about transforming marine science, because it could be totally different than we think about it, like we think about it right now. That's what I experienced, and this really surprised me, but really inspired me. So I'm interested to continue that, because very often people think the scientists should tell us what they found out, and then we will build an image for a new future from that. But in fact, it could be totally the other way around. So we should first say, yes, what do we want? And then we should shape research and our policies. So I think this is where the arts really can help to design new visions. And it would be very important at that point to subvert the power. What gets funding right now? What does and what does not? And so it's very important to really speak to the policymakers to change that. And there are 3 ways to collaborate. The first one is science communication. I think most people know that it's a sort of a buzzword these days. And this is very important, and it bases on scientists giving artists information and the artist communicate it. So it's a one-way procedure mostly, and it's pretty effective, of course. And the second way would be scientific art, so-called sci art, which means that scientists provide science information, and the scientists and the artists produce artworks from it. So the scientist doesn't influence that too much then anymore, but the artist makes something new from it. And the third way would be art science, which is the most complex form, and which would mean that artists and scientists really do research together, side by side, share their desks, share their experiences, and really learn from each other methods and mix them up and become a real team. So this is the most difficult form, but as I think, it's the most transformative form at the same time. So it's interesting to get there. And I'd like to show you some examples from all these ways to collaborate. This, for example, is a science communication project that we did in Spain in this WOS Symbiosis project. And it bases on interviews with scientists, marine scientists, and anthropologists who interviewed fishermen in this community. And the illustrators, it's this group, Katrin Funke, Christina Heldmann, Stefan Michaelsen, they developed pictures and collected citations from the scientists and the stakeholders from the city, and did a public exhibition at the main spot right in the middle of the city. So it became a hotspot for workshops and discussions with the public. And at the same time, they produced posters from it. So you could really put them all over the city to spread the word more. And this is great to connect, because people feel seen, because these citations mostly come from themselves. So it's really about them, and not telling others what they should think or what they should do. And so this is science communication. Then the next step would be science art. And this bases on the problem that the community told us that the fishermen, they felt in a way disrespected in this society, because they had a lot of friction with the sports, for example, like the divers and the surfers, and with farmers and with policymakers, and they felt disrespected even, and they on some levels, they didn't even speak with each other anymore. And so we got that idea that an anthropologist, Tanja Granzow, she interviewed the local fishermen. And these were very complex interviews. And the illustrators we brought, they illustrated their life stories about their families, about what they really appreciate about that job, and what is their perspective. And we even portrayed them personally. And then an actor that was in our team said, okay, this reminds me so much about The Old Man and the Sea from Ernest Hemingway. And he created a collage, a text collage that we could read on stage in two parts. One part read The Old Man and the Sea, and the other one citations from these interviews. And that was a good move, because normally the fishermen said they don't want to have their opinion be published, because this will cause even more anger in the community. And but when we did it in this collage, it was still the real thing, but it became art. So because then it was on stage, and then it became a good basis to discuss. And on the top here, you can see that the fishermen then themselves really joined our presentation and got into discussions with the scientists and with the community members. So it built a new platform for exchange in this community. And the second one is science art in a way, but in a reverse way. It's a very interesting book that I got to know. I got to know the scientists at the One Ocean Science Congress in Nice. It's called Merveille Aquatique. And this team, they did research on what the ancient arts can tell us about today's biodiversity, for example. And I really, really like this ceramics on the right side from the 16th century. And it's, how is it called? I wrote it somewhere. And so it's a replica from real organisms. So it's a pity, of course, because they died when they did this plate. But still, you can say, okay, this is what the creatures looked like in the 16th century. And so it's a reverse thing in this case, because as a scientist, we can learn a lot about the species from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So I really can recommend this book, and they provide a PDF if you like it. I can send it to you so you can watch it online. And yeah, and now, and this is the third version, the art science way to collaborate, and we call it the Symbiosis Studio. It's a method that I invented, and it's about several parts. So we designed the whole location, how we can work together. So it's a very flexible structure with flexible furniture. And the idea was to bring artists and scientists as close as possible, to make them work together for 3 weeks, to go diving together, to collect samples together, to have discussions, to give talks, and yeah, to dance together, eating together, so everything. In fact, they did together. And yeah, and this was the method how we could develop very much follow-up projects that come out of this, like new exhibitions, new projects, new research ideas as well. So yeah, and in fact, to transform marine science is an aspect in this, because in the end, especially the scientists, had the idea we should do conferences in the future like this, because this is a much more intense exchange in a way. You really transform yourself, and your opinion about how science, or especially marine science, should be. And part of this Symbiosis Studio, there's another method that I invented. I call it Thinking Hands, and I mentioned it earlier. And I have a short film about some of my colleagues who did this, and I will play it.
Thinking Hands is a visual communication. We're bringing people together from very, very different disciplines and professions. All of them are not used to draw, so they are thrown into the unknown, you can say, and they are equalized like that.
We're trying to think on paper. We are talking about the same questions over and over again from different angles, but it's something totally different when you put it on paper. You have to be more precise and you have to get down to the core of it. And it's not about doing a nicely done picture, but to say something. I think this kind of communication is important for everybody, and especially for this way of doing work in a symbiotic way, because it's a means of communication everybody can read and everybody can use, and it's an international language.
Mm-hmm. I will explain it a little bit more, because it's a structured process, and it works like this, that it's guided by artists, and you can be a group of scientists, for example, like 10 people. And the preset is to define a question. We, for example, in this case, we said, imagine you are dating the ocean. You want to become a partner of the ocean. What do you think can you contribute to build a mutual partnership and with the sea? And in the first step, everybody paints his own perspective on this question. Then we have these special walls, and we put the pictures on the walls, and we talk about each picture. So you can ask questions about pictures you don't know, or you can just explain your own picture. And then we try to find similarities and connections, and then we rearrange them until we have sort of the idea that there's a story evolving, or sort of a cluster. And then we find out that some people have to team up because they have similar ideas, or they have connecting ideas. And then is the next step to draw together. They draw together and add these ideas to each other and put them back on the wall. And we do this until we really have the feeling that there's an understandable story. And what is interesting about this is that the artists, that the scientists themselves paint. It's not the artists painting the scientist's idea. It's the artists and the scientists themselves, and that is important because it's a big difference to if you paint your idea by yourself, because it's the directest way to express yourself. And watching somebody else drawing is very important as well, because you can follow his thoughts much better if you see him or her drawing. This is what we find out in this process. And and we had some interesting findings, especially one about research itself, because we found out that scientists, in a way, would love to work like artists, because they really, especially regarding the ocean, it would be great to do research in a much more exploratory way than in a thesis-driven way, because you might discover some much more important things if you just jump in and look whatever you can find. And this is how artists normally work. They are inspired by the world itself. They normally, many of them don't know what they will get to in the end. It's a surprise in a way. And we found out that Donna Haraway, in a way, who is very famous for scientists, I recognize, but for artists as well, already had this idea about the cat's cradle game. So we illustrated this cat's cradle game here in connection to the marine science idea, because if you follow up the story on the right side on the picture, the cradle looks like a plankton, a special kind of plankton, which is down there. And and we had this idea that it would be great if science could be much more like that, especially the marine science, to be totally exploratory and go out and look what will happen. And I really like the idea of the ocean decade, that we should choose the science for the ocean we want by ourselves. And so I think if you want to work with artists, it would be great if you just know what are your topics or what are your needs. So this is the scientific part, to have an idea about what you think would be the best for our ecosystems. And I think the next step, so this is what you said, how to start. And you have to think about what kind of collaboration do you want? Do you want just, that's not only just, but it's great as well. Science communication, it's easy, it's a one-way process. Do you need sci art or art science? And so it's important, I think, to decide about that in the beginning when you start. But of course, these things can always mix up. And I think they do that by themselves, but you have to start somewhere. And and I think one has to be aware that the arts provide transformation, especially in the art science. So one has to really, you have to want a kind of transformation and be surprised perhaps by things that happen. And of course, it would be great to find artists that are already interested in the oceans, I think. And it's also very good if they are already used to work with scientists, because then you're used to their methods and how they think. It makes things easier in a way, I think. And of course, there would be costs. So most artists that are not art teachers work on commission, so you should be aware that you have to have a budget in some way, and especially if it comes to exhibitions or you want to present something, it's always a matter that you need some resources. And so it's important to think about that in the beginning. Of course, one could look for collaborations with art universities. That's something I often do. Yeah, but still, if there's an exhibition, you need some things to provide. And and I'm already at the end of my presentation. I think I was very quick, I don't know. I would be happy if you would like to connect, because I could offer matchmaking with artists that are interested or already professionals to work with marine science, and I can help with concepts and fundings for projects like that. There are some these days that I found out where we can apply. And collaboration with art universities, that is what I do right now anyway. And of course, the Thinking Hands workshops or the symbiosis studios are methods that I can provide for universities or scientific teams. And if anybody wants to have the PDF of Merveille Aquatique, you can contact me. I will send it to you. Yeah, so.
Perfect. Stephanie, thank you so much. Wait, I'm going to put my camera. Can you see me now?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to change settings because they kicked me out of the library. But thank you so much. It was super interesting. I actually have a question for you, if I can. Feel free to ask any questions also.
Of course,
But
of course.
what do you like with the whole experience you've had? What do you think is the most like challenging part when you need to connect? You're kind of like in between being a scientist, more like an artist, and having the mind of like empathizing with the other side. What is the challenge in like um
Mhm.
connecting them usually like the yeah
Mhm.
what challenge would you think is the like the
Yeah, I think it's much easier than we think. Of course, we are always like, oh, they are strange, scientists are strange, and artists are strange.
Mhm.
But it turns out that very quickly there are so many similarities in thinking because
Mhm.
they both invent new things. They both want to explore the world in a way, and they are open to adventures and surprises. So there are many things that are pretty similar, and I think hundreds of years ago it was pretty normal that a scientist would draw and do
Mhm.
things that are separated today. So we separated in our disciplines anyway, much too far.
Mhm.
So we can just come back together. And I think so. It's
Very
not.
true.
Of course, there are challenges, and this is why we invented, for example, these methods. We have another method I call the veranda talk, and we had a swing in which two people can sit, and we placed an artist and a scientist, and we started with the question in this symbiosis studio: what was the best thing you think about what did happen to you today? And then one of them, then we left them swinging in the swing, and we recorded it, not in film, just a voice recorder. And it started so quickly that they connected to each other. When one of them said, "Oh, I went diving and I found an old shoe in the sea," and the other,
Mhm.
so this was the scientist, and the artist say, "Oh, that's a good thing. I hope you bring it, because my idea would be, let's go to a shoe shop here in the city center and ask them to display it in the window, and then we can invite them to our camp here." And so and these conversations, it was so interesting how deeply they connected and how much they
Mhm.
were inspired by each other. So I think
Mhm.
you're right. It's always there are challenges, but I think especially the arts can overcome them. You have to design it in a way, the experience. So this would be the job.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Do you girls have any questions, any comments?
I have a question. Well, yeah, lovely presentation also, Stephanie. That was so good.
Thank you.
I guess just related to Laura's question. So if we have the scientist, the artist, what happens also, or how can we bring in, say, the community in the conversation also, like as maybe a citizen scientist or maybe even as a citizen artist? Is that a thing? Or like I guess someone who has had no formal training or no experience in art, like how do we get them to do an artistic method or a artistic production method?
Yeah, that's very important, I think. I think we in the beginning you can do something like I showed this public exhibition. So you get in touch and you start a conversation, and people realize, okay, there are these people and this is what they do. Now I understand it. So you get personally connected. And then what was a really good method was we had this anthropologist who was specialized in fishermen. And all the fishermen trusted her for some reason. It was so great because she really made them open up to her. And so she was a great opener to the public. And so we had different events that we announced publicly, so people could join and come in, and open studio days and school classes, invited school classes. So you can come up with several ideas how to give them the idea that it's okay to join. Because of course it's like always you go something and think, oh, these are strange people. Most of them we didn't even speak Spanish, just some of us. So there's still this language barrier as well. But yeah, you can overcome that with some of these methods, and especially this thinking hands method is something that really communicates to others. When you have these scientific ideas and have arranged them on the walls, you can even invite public and explain, okay, this is on how we match, how we can work together with the ocean. What is your idea? And you can even attach more pictures and yeah, make it bigger and yeah, let them join. So yeah, there are several ideas, I guess. But it's important. In the beginning, I was a bit afraid of that question, because artists and scientists both, sometimes they tend to hide in their studio or in the lab. So you have to open up by yourself. But yeah, I can recommend to have an anthropologist in your team. Or sociologist are very good as well.
Thank you. Oh, Stephanie, if you would like to hold a Thinking Hands workshop in our own locality, like how do we go about asking permissions or guidance from you? Or I guess, yeah, mostly the permissions also, because it's your own invention.
Yeah, I would love to do that, of course. Also, it's no problem. So you just have to invite me. So,
Does
and
it have to be in person, or like is it possible to do it in a remote setting also?
yeah, we were thinking about that a lot. I think it would be possible. But on the other hand, it's so much fun to do it together and to connect personally, normally.
Yes.
And it's this watching the others and having a pop-up studio in which you really live for a whole day or even 1.5 days. Sometimes we do it for 1.5 days if it's a really hard or it's a big question. It's a good idea. And what we very often we did it with students, for example. When we had the storyline in the end after 1.5 days, we did a video presentation. One of the students showed the story, or explained, or was telling the story in front of the pictures and was passing them along. And we did a film, and it was such a helpful thing, because you really could follow the stream of thoughts within that. So yeah, no, I think it's in a way it's better to do it in person.
I think that's mostly all for me. I'm excited to deep dive your work actually and just Google search everything and the PDF also. It's available online.
Yeah,
Um,
yes, I have these two websites here, WOS Symbiosis and stephanieguse.com. And I put my email here. You can just get in contact, and I can send you these links, and then we can exchange, and you can research. There are 2 films on the WOS Symbiosis homepage. One about the whole event, about the 3 weeks, and one about an exhibition we did at the university in Munich in the Bio Center, where many professors and students were told them how they perceive the whole thing. And this is very interesting, because you mostly learn about it, you can learn about it best, or the effects, when people talk about it. So that's you can look at that up if you like.
thank you. I have it on now on my phone also. I'm gonna check it out.
Good. Yeah.
Everything. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thanks.
And thank
Great.
you, girls, for joining. For staying up late. Raya, thank you so much. It's really, really appreciated.